Hey guys, we're going to talk about two things in this video. One is antique radio clubs, and two is we're going to take a look at this chassis right next to me as we get back into working on porthole TVs. You may have heard me mention ARCI, or the Antique Radio Club of Illinois, many times over the years, and I typically go to their annual Radio Fest swap meet, do a video, take some photos, talk about it, show you what I picked up. And you may get the impression that that's all there is to it, is that there's an annual swap meet. But no, there's a whole lot more to it. And you may not be taking full advantage of your local radio club. Now, of course, I'm not familiar with every antique radio club in the United States or the world for that matter, so I'll mostly focus on the one that I know that's local to me. But I'm sure there's some common traits in all these clubs. So what's an antique radio club? Well, of course, it's a club of people who are interested in antique radios, but what do they actually do? So I mentioned that my local one has an annual swap meet, and there's actually an auction the night before, which I have yet to attend because, well, scheduling conflicts, basically. But they also have a smaller swap meet on a more regular basis. And they meet online, and there is a chat group. So what do they talk about? What do they do at these meetings? Well, people talk about radios that they're working on, troubles they might be having, things they're looking for, maybe advice on where to find something, how to fix something. Maybe you're looking for maybe you're looking for service info. Maybe you've got a problem and you got a hum in the speaker, you've got feedback, you're not getting any reception. It's a group of people who have a lot of knowledge about these old radios. And it's not just confined to radios, because what do you need to work on radios? You need test equipment, so it spills over into that. And of course I work on a lot of TVs, and there is some crossover to that because they also run on tubes, and they were also around at the same time. And I should clarify maybe a little bit about what is an antique radio. Well, as time marches forward, the boundaries of what that means moves on, of course. If you're back in the 60s or 70s, you would think of a radio from the 1920s, a battery-operated radio, as an antique radio. And then as time moved on, it got into the AC-operated radios, plastic cases from the 50s, the All-American 5s, very popular. Nowadays, I'm sure solid state is starting to creep into the conversation more and more. So don't think just because you don't have a radio that's 100 years old that doesn't qualify, though. That is very likely not the case. So there's the help aspect of it, the technical aspect of it. There's also the social aspect of it, because, hey, if you're interested in something and other people are too, you might want to talk about it, your peers, and which can spill over into a whole wide range of conversations. That's the main reason I go to these swap meets. I have plenty of stuff, as you've seen in my videos. I'm usually not going there so much to buy stuff as I am to socialize, to catch up with people, meet some new folks, see what other folks are up to and interested in, and what's going on in general in the hobby. Now, another big aspect of what they do leads us to this. I see people post online all the time, and I've been contacted many times by folks that have inherited some old electronics. They don't know what to do with it. Maybe somebody's grandfather's passed away, or an uncle, whatever it might be, and they're cleaning out the house. They go down to the basement and they find stuff like this. And typically they know that, hey, yeah, my grandfather was into old radios and he really was passionate about it. And I'm pretty sure they have some value, but I don't know what I'm looking at, and I don't know what to do with it, and I don't want to just throw it away. So the very common advice I see and have given is contact your local antique radio club. Because, again, it's a pool of experts over a wide range, and just because maybe it's not specifically antique radios, maybe it's ham radios, these guys know their stuff. So what might they help you out with, or help somebody out in this situation? Well, one, identifying what the stuff is, giving them some idea what the value is and what is in particular more valuable than other stuff, and then what they might do with it. Donate it. contact an auction house, put it on eBay, depending on your situation, or if you have an estate sale, help them with pricing things. Also say if you donate stuff to your antique radio club, they will do their best to find a new home for it, and if they end up selling it, auctioning it, whatnot, the proceeds go to help fund the club and keep them going. So where did I get this? A local collector, who they've been slowly helping out, finding new homes for items from his collection, and they were getting, I think, down to the nitty-gritty of the last of the items, and there were a couple TV chassis. So I was contacted because, hey, I'm a member of the club, I know the president, networking. So people ask me often, hey, where do you get parts? Where do you find this stuff? Networking. Joining your antique radio club. Get to know people. And once people know what you're interested in, when they're out and about in the world and they find things that say, hey, maybe Bob might be interested in this, I'll send them a text and say, hey, would you like me to save this? Are you interested in this? And that's exactly what happened. And I said, yes, I'm working on a bunch of porthole TVs right now, in fact. And lo and behold, they saved this the Zenith porthole TV chassis for me. And that's typically what happened is, hey, they know I'm the TV guy, and there's a few other TV guys in the area. So when they are going through an estate and they're more familiar with the radio stuff and they see TV stuff, they contact the TV folks and say, hey, and they send us some photos and they say, hey, we're seeing this stuff. Are you guys interested? Should we save this? Should we put this aside for you? Can you come and help us out too? Because it's always looking for volunteers, and if you have the time, I strongly encourage you to do what you can. So this is a Zenith porthole chassis, very similar, I believe, to the Aldrich that I've been working on. And what's the best source for spare parts, be it radio, TV, or test equipment, whatever, is another one. Ideally, one that is a little too far gone to be restorable, maybe missing a cabinet, beat up, but it's a great place to harvest parts from. So what is a porthole TV? It's a TV that has a fully round circular screen. That was Zenith's signature look from when they started producing TVs in '48 until about '51, '52 when they retired this concept and went rectangular along with everybody else. I'd place this as what I call the intermediate period. How do I come to that conclusion? It was just a glance because of this guy. Later, the last generations of these sets, they moved the stuff in here, which is the high voltage components, underneath the chassis. Earlier ones typically had a smaller screen, and they were heavier. They had a beefier power transformers in this. It just occurred to me, yeah, this isn't everything. This came out of a combo set. It had already been disassembled in the estate. Maybe somebody was working on it, maybe somebody was parting it out, I don't know. But there would have been another chassis with power supply on it. And it would have had an AM/FM radio and a phonograph, I believe. This is what I was really interested in. In particular, we have a 16-inch round screen, metal cone. Kind of hard to come by these. Fingers crossed that it's still good. Otherwise, yeah, it's in really good shape. I think it's maybe only missing one tube. So I don't know exactly why this was disassembled or what the fate was for it, but I'm very glad the Antique Radio Club recognized what it was and put it aside and saved it, and it's in good hands now, and I will most definitely use it to keep other sets running as best I can. Here's a peek underneath the chassis, and it's actually in really good condition. There's a few repairs, like that's a replacement cap. The sand-coated power resistors are in better shape than I'm used to seeing in terms of the coating, but yeah, they've all got heavy green corrosion on the terminals, and I would not be surprised if they are open. I'll take a bunch of reference photos. Good to have photos of unmolested chassis. Here's the other chassis still out in the garage. It's an RCA KCS 72 No picture tube, just the chassis, but that's all right. Chock full of good parts. I'm not directly familiar with this chassis, but just going by the looks of it, I'm thinking early 50s, maybe 52 to 54, 55, something like that. Notice how the tuner's at a bit of an angle. It's probably to accommodate the picture tube, probably a 21-inch rectangular, something like that. Plenty of good parts I can harvest out of this, so I'm glad they saved it. Alright, let's take a closer look at this chassis now. Now, if you've been watching my porthole series, this may look familiar to you. Yeah, of course it's a porthole chassis, and they all have some similar characteristics, but I believe this is identical to the one that's in that Zenith Aldrich I started working on a while back. And as memory serves, I recapped it, replaced resistors in it, and we got a raster. I think we got some reception on it. So there's a little bit more work. It's back in the cabinet upstairs right now, but I'll be bringing it back down to finish it off. But there's something a little bit different about this one. We've got some extra stuff right here. We've got a capacitor, we've got a motor thing, we've got a relay solenoid mechanism and a big wheel on here. This has remote control, a wired remote control. They called it the Lazy Bones system. This was a few years before they introduced their first wireless system, the Flashmatic, that used a beam of light and some light sensors. So you would have had a remote control with a long wire connected to the back of the TV. Remote control was sort of an egg-shaped kind of thing with two buttons on top. I think all it could do was channel up and down. Might have had power too. But here's what kills me. I don't have the remote. I've got the mechanism, and this holder is where the remote itself would have sat. This would be on the cabinet somewhere. The remote would sit in here, and the cable would plug into this. I had one. The remote device. New in the box. I found it in an estate sale, garage sale. I don't remember. Something like 20 years ago. I sold it on eBay. I probably got all of like 20, 25 bucks for it. Really wish I had it right now. They do show up for sale now and then. Eventually I'll probably be able to find one. It's unlikely I'll get one that was new in the box. But you know, there's that fine line between being a hoarder and being practical. I mean, who would have guessed that almost 2 decades later I would need it? So, oh well. But we can simulate it. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm not going to restore this chassis, but I'll use it for parts because the other one is close to being done. But I'm thinking I can transfer this mechanism from this set onto that and give it an upgrade. This looks like it was installed at the factory, but they did sell these as aftermarket kits too, so I should be able to mount this stuff on that chassis. If not, I could transplant the entire tuner if it came down to it. So how does this work? Let's get a little bit closer. There's 2 parts to it. We got a motor over here, and I presume a motor run capacitor that goes to this, which has, I believe, 3 wires that would go to it. So we're going to do 2 things. One, we need to turn the motor on, either clockwise or counterclockwise, but we also want it to stop when it reaches a channel. We don't want it to just keep freely spinning, because you let go of the switch and it might end up between 2 channels. So it's not just a motor that you turn on and off. There's also this. There's a solenoid hidden in here. And we've got the, what do they call it, a worm drive, spiral gear on the shaft here. And then there's a large wheel below it. So you would need to engage the remote, which would cause this to drop down, which would engage this with this big wheel. This big wheel gives you some mechanical advantage because this tuner takes a bit of force to turn. And I can actually do it manually. If I rotate this around, get far enough. There we go, I just changed the channel. So I presume when you would do that, it would kick this back up. Something like that. Here, a little ding there, the bell. I imagine this was also rather loud when the motor was on. The other earlier remote systems I've seen are all rather loud or rather clunky devices. But that's my plan. Right now, let's test that picture tube. I'm still not sure what type it is. I think it's a GP4. I'd love to get the rarer EP4, but I think this is a GP4. Visually looks okay, but I can't see the getter, so I can't tell if it still has a vacuum or not. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention there's also a power transformer down here, so it takes all of this stuff just to change the channel up and down, so you don't have to get your butt off the sofa. Alright, let's see about that CRT. So I got it plugged in, 6.3 volts. Turn on. We have filament glowage. Excellent. All goes well. These two bulbs should light up on the left hand side. G2's starting to come up. Turn some of these lights down. This can take a while, especially if it's been sitting a long time. Barely an inkling of a needle movement when I check emissions. This is the continuity shorts test when they're in this mode. Okay, so if it was really strong, it would have come up by now. Two of these light bulbs would be glowing brightly, and the needle would move well into the green. Okay, that's not... Okay, well, this one's coming up. But this is lighting up on both sides, which indicates bad H to G2 short. Or G1, G2 short, or G2K short. All of which are pretty darn unusual. So, I'm not running it off yet, and this one's coming up okay. So, according to the chart, if the left half of this is glowing, and this is glowing on both sides, bad short G2 to cathode, or G1, G2. Which potentially we could clear out if that's really what it is, but I'm going to let this sit a while before I jump to any conclusions. Yeah, it's been about 10 minutes, and we are right at the edge of the green. Yeah, this is still glowing a bit, but I'm not worried about it. I haven't used this tester in a while, maybe that is normal. And cutoff, yeah. Cutoff's in the good range. We got emissions right at the edge of green. They're just into the green. This would produce an image. I let it run longer. Perhaps did a little bit of a auto restore with my CR70 Sencor to probably get even better. So yeah, that's a win. And I'm pretty darn sure this is a GP4, not an EP4. Which, yeah, EP4 is the one that's really hard to find. But I'll take a good GP4 as well. Always good to have a spare. So, cool. Alrighty, so, yeah. When I get the Aldrich back down here on the workbench, we're gonna play around with this. Check this out. I was wondering where power came from. I was thinking I would have to trace out wiring and see where it was in the chassis, but no. It plugs right into the back. And I'm pretty sure I've seen this AC plug on other chassis. I assumed it was for, say, an AM/FM radio or a phonograph. It never occurred to me it was power for this remote control unit. So I'm going to check that Aldrich chassis. If it's got that AC plug there and it has pre-existing holes for mounting this, it should be a pretty easy transfer. Notice this wiggles a little bit. It's all shock mounted. So with these mounting screws, there's rubber grommets behind them. Yeah, of course they're hardened and shrunken a bit over time. So imagine that. Yeah, that reduces the vibration and the noise, right? Yeah, it's still pretty noisy. And of course we have to hope everything still is good. That will be a fun little bonus in these porthole videos, is to get a lazy bone remote system working. Alright, that's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching.